Greetings, everyone.
Hello.
How's it going? Thank you guys for watching. We talk a lot about, and many of you guys have talked about Marcus Lemonis, people, product, and then process. Today we're really going to talk about diving in and figure out how to evolve that process, learn about it, and we got our good friend Arnel Tanyag. Is that how you say it last time?
That's right.
Perfect. He's going to help us guide us through that path. Enjoy.
All right. Again, my name is Arnel Tanyag with Tanyag Company. Today we're going to be working on the workshop on how to double your income in 90 days or less. Because as a startup entrepreneur, you got to grab. Mm-hmm. So let me give you a little background on myself. I'm married, got 3 kids. I got a son who's turned 19 in September. Is going to the Air Force Reserves.
19.
He's going to go get his college paid for. He's going to do Intel. He's leaving in about a week. Got a daughter who's about 12 and a 5-year-old boy and a cat. I graduated from Old Dominion, bachelor's in nursing. So I did that for 4 years. My business career started, I used to be the area director of BNI, so I ran all the BNI groups about 20 years ago. So when BNI first came into an area, which is they're an international franchise on referral marketing. So when they first came in Hampton Roads about 20 years ago, I was the first director. 100% commission, didn't know what 100% commission looked like. Well, it was brutal. You come from a nursing background, you work the weekends on nursing, and you got to go do Monday through Friday, 100% commission, no sales training. It was brutal. And then the owner of that left. He started a franchise, a startup business advisory consulting franchise called Team Nimbus. We got that up and running for a couple of years. Former partner and I left that, and we started our own company called Drescher and Tanyag. Left that, and then I went on my own probably about 3.5 years ago. So what we're going to do is just go around and just let me have you guys introduce yourself, your name, company, what you do, and and we're going to make it more interactive, because the whole idea of this workshop is really get you to figure out if you could double your income in 90 days or less. I've been doing some of this for probably the last 10 years. So we'll just do a quick name, company, what you do, and Bill.
You can start with me.
Yeah, just pick you first.
Bill Sheevely. I'm a retired entrepreneur, sold my business last year, and now I work with startups here at Hatch.
All right.
Big Mark Satterfield. My company is For the Love of My Son / Future Fame Productions, 1801 High Street. I do talent management and artist development.
Good.
My name is Johnny Stewart. I run Stuvix Technologies LLC. It's a consumer goods product, and also do design consulting as well. Mechanical engineer by trade.
I'm Banning Ziffler. I'm an intern.
I'm Deanie Dormer, owner of the Executive Events. We do events and marketing for business owners.
I'm an intern at Hatch also.
All right, good. So let me give a little bit of Tanyag Company. We've been around for about 3 years, but I've been doing this business advising consulting for probably about 12 years. Because once we left BNI, 20 years ago when we started, we stayed in for 8 years. So the whole time we've been doing some business advising consulting. So from startup franchise to owner partnership, now on our own. So I've seen it all from startup to that. So what we believe is that we challenge everything on the status quo of building the business. One way we do that is we believe every business owner here could double their income if they really want to. I mean, think about it this way. If you could double your income, what would be your ideal lifestyle look like? What we find out over the years, most business owners will work day and night, 50, 60, 70 hours a week, and then they got no vacations. They're on a treadmill, sometimes what we call quiet desperation, and the business owns them. So the idea is that we believe we got a unique perspective. If you can build the business and enjoy the lifestyle along the way, then most of the business owners we work with, they don't want to sell their business. Typically, they want to own multiple businesses. The challenge is trying to figure out how to get the first one making money and getting replacing you out of the day-to-day. We believe that we help them double their income. If you can double your income, then everything changes. Like, I'll give you an example. There's a gentleman named Mark Carrier who was, I met him like 10 years ago. He moved from Michigan. He was a plant manager. His brother-in-law convinced him to buy a franchise, a Fitness Together franchise. Moved down here, didn't know anybody, did all the networking thing. He was referred to me by a Sandler sales training guy probably about 10 years ago. And the Sandler sales guy, well, we don't work with failing businesses, so sent it to us. So over a period of 4 months, we were able to help him double his income. About 10 years ago, so I know he's got like 2 locations. He just opened another location, a new franchise, and he's now got a fitness product. But what we ended up doing over that 90 days is help him figure out how to double. And most of his business, he was trying to do advertising, so a lot of it was like picking the right mixes to do advertising, networking, relationship building, but he doubled. And it was interesting too because he's very good in analytics and numbers, but he had a hard time figuring out how to put the relationship process together and how to get that thing moving. But we're able to help him double it. So, and I see him occasionally once in a while, and I'm just surprised at how good he's done. I mean, he's got, he's opened a 3rd location, but it's a different franchise, but he's doing phenomenal. And when he sees me, he says, "Yeah, that's the guy who helped me double about 10 years ago." Because here's what I've seen in the years: if you get somebody to double their income, they shift into this mindset like, I can do anything I can do. But when you don't get there, then you struggle in trying to survive in the business. But when you can actually double, you can actually do it again and again and again. Because, it's like athletes. If you ever played sports, when you get to that threshold, you break through, then it's just repeating confidence over and over again. It's the same thing in business. You got to push to that certain level, and when you can get people to double, then they just double again. As long as they stay in some type of structure and support that keeps them focused on the important, they usually do it again and again and again. So what we're going to talk about today is really go over, I call it the 7 secrets on how to double your income. And this is based on the experience. So what we're going to basically do is I'm going to share each secret and then tell you a little quick story and then have you guys interact and make it work for you. Because here's the thing is, in the years I've been doing this, is that it's amazing. We get about a 45% people go through the 90-day, I call it 90-day program, and about 45% double. But then the problem is a lot of them just don't sustain it because they have to stay. So now we have created the structure where they're constantly working on developing business. And then once they get to a certain threshold, they can, my largest company is about 2.3 million. And they first started with me. It's funny, a husband and wife team wanted to work together. Husband was a very successful tattoo artist. The wife was a very successful business manager. We met, got him to do some homework for 3 or 4 months. I remember I was at the planning commission when they first came. We had a conditioner's pyramid, and then lo and behold, I'm still working with them. They have 2 locations. They actually have 3 other businesses they're actually starting. So it's interesting when you watch people grow. It's just that sometimes you have to test yourself to get you to grow. And so that's why we call it double your income. If you can double your income, then usually what happens is you can sustain that process. You can do it again and again. So the first thing we're going to do, the first hidden secret that I've seen that you have to do, and you're going to write this down. Number 1 is your wants of the future must be your needs today. You got to really decide why, I call it your personal why you're doing your business. What will it do for you? So think about it. If you can close, take a moment right now. If you close your eyes, and if I could get my business to double in 90 days and sustain it a year from now, what's that going to do for me? What's it going to really do for me? It's not the first answer. It's usually the second or third answer. Because I'll tell you why. Because if you don't have that strong personal why, you're not going to get under your comfort zone. Like I have a registered dietitian who is cold calling. She's like 52, who's cold calling doctors' offices to get them to send her patients. I mean, her why is, look, I want to make enough money so my husband and I can travel and I can pay the bills, so I don't have a problem cold calling.
What was that quote? Your wants of the future.
Yeah, your wants of the future must be your needs today. You got to have your wants. So, what's that personal why? So let's take a moment and think about, if I could double my income in 6 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year, what's that one thing I want to do? And it's different for each person. Like the couple I talked about, they just wanted to work together and then create a business that separates them from each other, or from the industry. So they wanted to work together. They wanted to have a very great, successful business that separates them from everyone else in the local area. And that was the plan. And then now they built the business. Now the vision is they want to spend more time outside of the business together and have multiple businesses with revenue. But their primary reason is we want to work together and we want to build a business that is highly respected and known in the area. And they work together often during the week, but their businesses is highly respected, and it's a unique experience. And that's the reason why they came to me like 6 years ago, is because they wanted to figure out how can we do it. So your personal why has got to be strong. So let's take a moment. Does anybody have a personal why they think of? Think of it. If you close your eyes, if I doubled 3 months, 6 months, a year, how strong is it? What would it look like? What would it do for me? Because no one changes how they do things if their why is not strong enough. Anybody want to share? Anybody brave enough?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
I mean, I would love to just be in a position for once in life to, you know what I mean, to be able to take my wife on a vacation. But before the vacation, I want to buy my first house. Been renting, and I want to buy my first house and put my wife in the house and have somewhere for my family to come.
I got a client who's a mobile detail person. That's what he did this whole year. He doubled his income over a 6-month period because he was trying to buy his first house. You know, self-employed buying a house is very difficult. So he had to get his taxes done. He had to put a nice fat down payment, and he had to hire a couple employees, and he just got the house sometime last year around November, December timeframe, and he's happy.
But you know what? I really want to be able to buy the house in one whop. Like, I'm not greedy, but I've been broke long enough. I'm ready to get some money. You know what I mean? And the entertainment field, I always tell my wife a hit record for a musician is like hitting the lottery for a regular person.
Yeah, it is.
You know? And I know it's not like overnight, it doesn't come overnight, but I'm just saying, I'm in the frame of mind now when I really want to make $10,000 a day. For real. I mean, I can't be scared to say, you know what I mean?
You can't be scared to say. You just got to have that big enough why that it will force you to get out of your comfort zone to do the things you have to do.
Why? Because I can.
That's why I can. And getting the house has got to be strong enough to get you to do all the stuff you got to do. Because what happens, as soon as somebody says, go and knock on doors, call some people, get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, most people will quit because their why ain't strong enough.
Yeah.
It isn't strong enough. Yeah.
Can you give us some why examples from clients?
Like Mark Carey, he had no choice. Either get a job or make this business happen. So he had no choice. So he just buckled down and made the business happen. Then I had some people who literally just want to buy a house. Some people want to pay debt. But it's got to be so strong that you will do the work. And here's the thing, it's never the first answer. It's usually the second or third or fourth answer. And I'll tell you how you know is when you get out there and double your income and you want to quit, then that why isn't strong enough.
Is buying a house a strong enough why?
For some people it is. If they've never had a house, they'll do what they have to do to build it. I mean, then some people are driven by ego. They just want, if you tell them they can't do it, they'll just do it. But then the problem is they don't always sustain it. But that's what I figured out. If you want people to double, you got to help them figure out their why. And sometimes what happens is, sometimes it's as obvious to some people because they know what they really want, and a lot of times it isn't. But that's one way, because the why will inspire you to pull you out of your comfort zone. Everyone's motivated, but the motivation only pushes to a certain degree. Inspiration gets you out of the comfort zone and gets you to do what you got to do. The most of the clients that I know that double actually have a big why. Number 2, you got to create stretch numbers. And here's the thing, you got to create numbers that focus on achieving daily and weekly goals. So here's the hardest thing with most people is they don't have a measurement on how many people they have to talk to a day. So let me give you a good example. Say you want to generate $30,000 in a quarter, right? That's $10,000 a month. Figure out what your average sale is. Say this person's average sale is about $2,000, so they need 5 clients. Say their closure ratio is about 50%, so they need 10 sales appointments. So to get 10 sales appointments, say their conversion ratio is 30%. They have to, every time they talk to 3 out of 10, somebody's interested in doing business with them. So that basically means they have to have 30 conversations per month. So if you break that down, 4 weeks, that's on what, 7, 8 at most? Mm-hmm. So how do you get in front of 8 people? So what happens if you want to double, instead of talking to 8 people that week, you talk to 16, you talk to 24. So when you actually can measure your numbers on daily or weekly basis and how many people you actually talk to, it's very rewarding and very exciting, because now you know this is how many people I have to talk to. So I can leave you a form that actually figures out, because once you figure out, like I have this client right now, this real estate agent, who she has to talk to 10 people a day. So, and she's one of these people that can go out to like Farm Fresh, Hardee's. She has no shame. She'll shake your hand and say, hey, I do real estate. She talks to 10 people a day. By the third month, she had like 5 transactions closed. She's just...
So that would be broad criteria, not specified criteria, like...
Yeah, so what you do is you make it broad and you break it down. But then what happens is you can actually break down, like if I want to sell this amount of business, this amount of service here, this amount of service, then you break down, okay, what your average sale is for that service, and then you can figure out where your funnels go. Because the hardest thing about doubling your income, you got to measure the number if you're winning or losing. We measure all by feeling. We don't measure by objectivity. So a lot of times what happens is when you get people to grow is you get them to say, okay, I need to talk to 6 people a day, and they go, I talk to 10 people a day. Okay, how'd it go? 3 of them are interested, all right, then set up the follow-up structure. Next day, talk to 10. And eventually what happens, it looks like a bunch of mess, but it's a bunch of trackable mess. But then eventually over a 30 to 90 day, they didn't have anything in the pipeline. Now they start having a lot of things in the pipeline. Because you have to have numbers you can measure, daily and weekly. And it's interesting, if you're doing only 2,000, you set your goal, you want to do 4 or 6, say you want to do 6,000, but you do it over 90 days, you can build the incremental successes because you actually can measure your daily and weekly goals. I see it a lot because when we sit down with people, we have to figure out their daily numbers or weekly numbers. And then once you know the numbers, then you can figure out if your strategies are working or not. Without measuring numbers, you don't know.
Create a stretch. Well,
Yeah, you got to create stretch numbers.
stretch.
So if you're only doing like 1,000 a month, then shoot for 3,000,
Okay.
and then figure out what your average sale is, and and then depending on your closing ratio, and then you can figure out how many people you have to talk to. So now what happens is if I work with somebody and say you have to talk to 10 people a day, so let's talk about how you get in front of 10 people. It could be online, face to face. It could be networking. You get referral. But you're going to talk to 10 people. That's an easier number to measure than how do I get the business. It's easier to measure a number. Now, a lot of people don't want to measure a number because it holds them accountable. And it actually makes it, they get nervous about it. But if you break it down where if you have to talk 10 people a week, but then you break it down, I only work 5 days a week, that's only 2 people a day. But if you really want to double, talk 4, talk 6, talk 8. So it does make it a lot easier when you measure it.
Do you find that getting that number in a daily number because it's smaller is easier?
It's daily numbers are easier because actually what happens, here's what I tell people, you get a daily number, it's so easy because you can get that number accomplished in a half a day and take the half a day off. Like I had this top sales rep who only sold to companies that he did janitorial, and we figured out he had 6 sales appointments, he closed 4 out of 6. And so he would do is he'd look at his network and he'd find out the 6 people who would introduce him to the 6 people on his target market list. That's all he did. He said, I only work 2 weeks of the month. I get my network to refer me to 6 people on my prospect list. I sit down with them, and I close 4 out of 6. But the implementation doesn't take 3 months because the average client, generates like 50, 60, 70,000 of supplies. But once he knew the number, he could figure out what's the best strategy to go at it. So then he wasn't running around to all these network events. He just knew where to go and what to work. Because daily numbers is the best to measure. Number 3 is you got to be self-aware. So that basically means you need to know your personality, your strengths, and your weaknesses so you can adjust yourself in your business. So there's a lot of tests that we recommend people do. Like, everyone talks about DISC. We recommend Myers-Briggs because Myers-Briggs really helps you figure out. It's got 16 different types of personalities, but it helps you figure out the weakness and strength. But it gives you a specific way to communicate those people. Has anybody ever taken the Strength Finder test? All right. Okay, good. What are your? Do you know what your strengths are?
Oh gosh, I did it a while ago.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Do you know what your strengths is?
Only my top one.
What's your top one?
Positivity.
Oh, positivity. Yeah. So you have people with positivity. When people, they're great to be around with because they're always upbeat. They're always smiling and never negative. Now, the reason you look at people's strengths, let me give you an example. Like a couple years ago, we got into Town Bank Mortgage, and we sat down with their VP and president. All their top performers had a gift called Woo. Yeah, so what they would do is they get in front of you and they win you over as a friend. all their top performers, all the top producing loan officers at Town Bank all had WU. The bottom producing, the second and third tier, didn't have any of that. So our goal was to go in there and figure out how to help them double their income. We figured out that it was very difficult to double their income because it would require us to do ongoing support to get those people who didn't have that WU gift, to get them to produce somebody who already had it. So the best thing for them to do is when you hire somebody, just if they don't have the WU gift, don't hire them. Because all their top producers were very good at influencing people automatically. Like if you have somebody who has a good WU gift, they're really good in front of people, they're just lousy in the follow-up. So you got to help them set up the follow-up. Another one we figured out that we look at, there's a book called Give and Take by Adam Grant, the reciprocity style. If you're doing any type of networking, you want to figure out people's reciprocity style, because a lot of times people are either givers, matchers, or takers, and most people in business, they call it matchers. So what happens is that the book says, and I've seen this in my own experience, there's some people very successful, they're great givers, but they're more strategic, and there's some people who are successful, but they only match when you give to them. That's the only time they return. So if you're building a word-of-mouth relationship business, you really need to know who are those givers. And the other thing we have them take is there's a book on, and this has really been a game changer for us, there's a book on habits, because a lot of times when people have to change a routine in business, you have to know how they adjust to habits. So there's a book written by Gretchen Rubin, talks about when you change your habits, there's only 4 types of tendencies when people change their routine. Number 1 is an obliger. So an obliger needs somebody from the outside to hold them accountable, because they don't do really good. They do really good when somebody else holds them accountable for other things, but they don't do a good job holding themselves accountable. So we have this test, and we find out when somebody's an obliger, that's why they want an outside resource to hold them accountable to produce the results. Then there's another one called upholder. That's the person who always follows the rules. But if they don't think the rules is fair, they won't follow it. And then there's what we call the questionnaire. The questionnaire is someone who literally questions everything, but if they don't see the logic, they won't follow it. Like I have a client right now who's an upholder. He said, Arnell, I don't mind calling my clients up, but I don't like the script that I see. I need you to help me write the script. So now when we wrote the script, he doesn't have a problem calling. Because internally, it bothered him. He wasn't going to change his routine. He said, I'd do it, but he wasn't doing it fully engaged because he didn't believe that inside his heart it would work. And then the other one is called a rebel, where a rebel don't want to do anything unless they feel like it. So that's the hardest thing in business, because you'll have some people who will do one thing and they'll surprise you to do the other thing, because that's just how they built their business. So when we work with people to get them to grow, we look at that, because when you're actually growing your business, you're going to change the business model. You're going to pivot often, and the owner has to be able to adapt to change. A lot of them don't know that that's their tendency toward change. Either it'll be held by an obliger, upholder, or a questionnaire. So once we help them figure that out, it's easier for them to understand change, and they're a lot easier for them to grow a lot faster and quicker. Because they say the more self-aware of your strengths and personality, you can adjust how you have to be in business. Like for example, I'm an IMTP and we're problem solvers. We like to look for problems, but that doesn't always mean we're going to grow a business. We always will stay looking for a problem. So what I have to be very careful is I have to not look for problems. I just got to stay in the zone and keep growing the business, but I'm not looking for things I can fix, because I like fixing things, but it doesn't make me any money. It actually, what it does, it keeps me busy. Because when you're growing a business, you got to always be looking for new opportunities to bring the business, looking at sales. But if your personality is like you see a problem, you want to spend your time. Like I have a computer guy, he says, man, Arnell, I love fixing problems. So when clients call me all the time, I drop everything to fix the thing. And so how's your revenue? Man, it sucks. I'm only doing like 4,000. So why is that? He goes, because I saw his personality. You're a problem solver. Yeah, I just feel like I got to solve a problem. You got to put that aside. I said, can you give the phone to your wife? Can you give an answering service? He goes, because you're never going to grow outside of 4,000 a month. And he agreed. So he's now making some adjustments. But he didn't know it was his personality. He just think that in business, I just need to go ahead and fix the problem. And we figured out is his personality led to the fact that that's why he wants to fix the problem. He feels like I'm important because I like fixing problems. So what you have to really look at is that you got to look at, I always recommend people, the better you know yourself, the lot easier you can adjust yourself personality-wise, strength-wise. Because sometimes your strengths are the worst in situations. Like I find out, like I'm strategic, so I'm always looking for ways to create new ways to generate revenue. But that doesn't always make me money because I'm always spending time looking and doing research. I need to figure out what works, then experiment, but don't experiment with everything. I need to process it out and make it standard. Hidden number 4 is you got to transition your mindset to what I call a business owner growth mindset, and then a mentally broke attitude. Yeah, some people are like, what does that mean? The business owner mindset. When most people come into business and they've never owned a business before, they have that employee mindset. So what do you think that employee mindset is?
Still going to work for somebody else.
Yeah, but here's the worst part of it. They call their business my baby. It's mine, right? So the problem is you don't respect the business, you make the business work for you. So when you go to the business owner mindset, you go, this business, I own this business, but the business is a separate entity, and it requires me to do things. Because when most business owners say, what's my baby, I own it, I say, well, okay, how's your production? That's not that good. I said, well, you got to go to the business owner. I own the business, but the business owner respects that I own the business. Like Marcus Lomos was to say in one of his prophets said, the problem with most business owners, they don't respect their business. So they manipulate the business to do things for their personal being, but they don't grow it. So a lot of times what happens is that you got to look at your business like I own this business, but I got to respect it. It means I got to do my financial management. I got to get up in the morning. I got to go to work. You got to go into that mindset that I got to work the business. The challenge is when you don't have the business owner mindset, you have the employee mindset where you don't. And I tell people you don't spend any time learning. You don't spend time growing. You don't get out of your comfort zone. It's very comfortable. Business when people have that business owner mindset, they understand that the business just requires me to do stuff. Because the reason people go in business because they don't want a boss, but you got to make your business the boss because it won't grow. You got to show the respect. But here's the thing about the growth mindset. What I've done research, there's a thing called fixed and growth mindset. Most people who start a business have a fixed mindset. Basically means they avoid challenges, they give up easily, they hate feedback, they don't like any kind of criticism. They get nervous or threatened by success of others. So when you have that fixed mindset in business, you're only going to grow as much as your mindset. So what you want to do, you want to have that growth mindset. And the growth mindset means is learning is dynamic. You embrace challenges. You want to get feedback all the time. You see your learning skills as a mastery. But when you have that growth mindset, you're going to grow. Because a lot of clients I work with, we got to transition them from fixed to growth and let them know it's okay to fail, it's okay to make a bunch of mistakes, because they know they're going to get better at it. The challenge is when you have that fixed mindset, you'll defend a position. Like you'll start a product here, oh, this is my baby, I'm not going to change it. But it ain't making you any money. And you'll defend it all the time, and 6 months to a year later, like it's not growing. I said, well, have you thought about tweaking the product? Have you talked about tweaking the service? Have you talked about looking at the customer? Well, I don't want to do that. You got a fixed mindset. Because here's the thing is, you can have a business, ain't making no money, but that's not what people want to do. You want to have a business that's making money, employing people. So we always recommend people to change that mindset from fixed. And a lot of times what happens is to change people's mindset to fix the growth is first they understand what the difference is, and then they have to be okay when somebody calls them out and say, man, you're fixed on this. You got to get over it. Because most companies I've seen grow, they never have a problem growing. They just have a problem getting to that point to grow because they're stuck on some belief. They don't want to change anything. Mentally broke attitude. Here's 3 words you want to write down. Write shameless, fearless, and urgent. Mentally broke attitude. There's 3 guys I know are top in their field. 2 are financial advisor. 1 is a mortgage person, and they make 6-figure income. They live very good lives. But what they do is they pull out their wallet every day and they go, "Ain't got no money in the wallet. I got to hustle. I got to hustle every day," and they go get it. That's what they call them. They're mentally broke. I said, Arnell, I don't have no money. They're wealthy, but I go get the money. They hustle.
Shameless, fearless.
There's an urgent. Yeah, those guys are shameless, but they're top in their career. So when you have that mentally broke attitude, Zach calls hustle. You're not hustling. You're hustling to get money. But the interesting thing is, these guys, I met all 3 of them. They're very sharp. They're very intelligent, but they never feel like they have the money. They just feel, I got to go get it every day. So they have that mentally. So you look at the words shameless, fearless, and urgent. Which 3 do I want? Do I need to be urgent? Do I need to be shameless? Do I need to be fearless? And I've had people who are shameless, fearless, and urgent, like my dietitian I work with. She's cold calling doctors. Just knocking on doors, sitting down. Hey, can I talk to you? I mean, she's like 48, 50. She had no shame. Yeah. Because she figured out, she goes, I hate networking, Arno. It don't work for me. Networking don't work. I'd rather go cold call doctors' offices. I said, all right. I mean, she cold called a doctor's office. She's got a meeting this coming Thursday with 5 doctors. Talk about dietitian. So what she's doing now is she says, I'm going to give me a list of all these concierge doctors in the area, and I'm going to cold call. I said, go ahead. She said, would you do it? No, that's not me. I ain't going to do that. I'm going to figure out another way. I ain't going to cold call. I'm shameless, but I'm not that shameless. And she said, I'm dropping out of the network thing. I'm just going to get a list of doctors, gyms, and I'm just going to knock on doors. Because she does really good with people in front. She tried to network and she goes, I'm impatient. I don't want to do it. So she'll get the doctors, and she's got a couple of doctors sending her business. She's got that mentally broke attitude, and she's shameless. And you would never believe she is. She's only like 5'3", wears glasses, but she's a tiger. She goes out and get it. She gets that business. Number 5, the hidden secret number 5, you got to know what skills you need to improve on. One of the biggest challenges in growing the business, we come with a set of skills, but we don't know what skills we need to improve on. So, there's most people when they do a startup business, they're always working on the technical skills. I'm good at the technical, I can do the product and the service. But you got to work on, I call the soft skills, the people skills, how to build a network, how to get referrals. I mean, do you have a sales process? Do you know how to develop people into raving fans or clients? I mean, there are certain skills, and one of the biggest challenges with most people is they don't work on their skills. Especially because what happens is if you don't have a budget to spend any money, then you're going to have to work on your networking skills or your people skills. And so what happens, you can generate a lot of business through relationships and networking if you know what skills in it. But if you do have the budget, then you need to find somebody who can help you work through the marketing and all that stuff. The biggest difficult part is that when people want to double their income, they don't really know what skills. They've just been fortunate to wing through and get really well, but there's certain skills. So I always tell people, like, if you want to go from A to B, and you're doing really well here, what are some skills you got to learn? If I don't have very little in the budget, I need to go out and network. Well, what networking skills do I need to learn? Or do I know how to develop a network? Do I know how to get people to give me referrals? Do I know how to get people to introduce me to that? So those stuff can be taught, Because a lot of my clients have very limited budget, and some of them have a lot of budget, but a lot of their business is coming from relationships, referrals, introductions. So we got to help them develop a process so they get that consistent business, Because networking works if you have a process, And if you can develop a network of people that refer you and introduce you, that's a great thing. The challenging it's that most people do networking because they go to a networking event, they get lucky, pick up a client, they think, oh man, I picked up a client later. I'm just going to go to all these networking events, and they run around all Hampton Roads trying to go to all these networking events, hoping to pick up a client, and they may or may not. But by cause and effect, they follow that. So a lot of the clients I tell them is you pick places that target market. You look for associations, you look for the right people, you get in front of them, and you build a relationship, and you can get them to refer you. There's a process to that. The biggest challenge, you got to figure out what skill you need to improve on. Number 6 is you got to change your routine in business. So what we're going to do today, I'm going to pass out something. It's called the numbers game. Has anybody played the numbers game before? Yeah, this is actually interesting. Let me see. 3, 4. I'll pass that.
Thank you, sir.
All right, pass that back. The numbers game. So you got to do is you got to change your routine. So let me talk about the numbers game. How this works is that everybody sees certain patterns in their life, in their business. So just take one. I'm going to pull up my calculator. I'm going to pull up my timer. So in 60 seconds or less, you're going to circle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in order, right? So some of you may get 30, some of you may get 10, some of you may get all 60. But what we're going to do is I'm going to time you in a minute and see how many you can circle in order. What you can't do is you can't build a big circle and say I got all 60. Because here's the reason we're going to do this exercise, because how you grow your business, you have certain patterns. And so we're going to see if you can get this circled in 60 seconds or less.
You said one.
So what you want to do is like this. So what you want to do is you want to circle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in order.
Circle.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you have 60 seconds to.
5, 6.
Yep. And you have 60 seconds to get to 60. All right. Let me put my timer on. Go. 20 seconds left. Stop. All right, how many did you get? How many you get?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
All right. How many did you get?
22.
22?
30.
30?
30.
30?
19.
19?
14.
14. Okay. So turn the sheet backwards. Then I want you to draw a line, a horizontal line between the 9 and 3. All right. And draw a vertical line between the 13 and 2. All right, take your pen, but don't circle anything. Just turn it on the other side where it doesn't have any circle. What you want to do is look at the 1 here, right? Look at the 2. Look at the 3. Look at the 4.
5, 6.
Look at the 5, 6. Wherever the 5 is one area, it's the same in the other quadrant. All right, so just just move your finger and just go over that. So you want to make a cross, vertical between the 13 and 2, horizontal between the 9 and 3, and you're going to go like that. All right, so we're going to start again, and so you should be able to double. All right, you ready? Get set, go. All right, stop. All right, who got 60? You got 60? Oh, good. All right, what'd you get? How many?
Doubled up. 10,
Okay, good.
12.
43.
43? All right,
45.
45? Okay, so what was the difference from the first time you did it and the second time?
The first one was random.
That's
The
right.
second one followed a pattern.
Okay, so what does that mean is hidden number 6, you got to change your routine in doing your business. So you got to look at whatever your pattern doing now. If it ain't working, you got to change it. So that book, Lean Startup, talks about pivoting. You're going to pivot how you make money. You're going to pivot how you do your business, how to bring in business. You may pivot your service product. You may pivot how you hire. You have to change the routine. So a lot of the companies we're always looking at, if they ain't making any money, do we change the product? Do we change the service? Do we change the target market? And that's where a lot of business owners struggle because they don't like to change. So you got to look at the patterns. That's why, the good thing about Hatch here is that you can plug into people that can help you look at the patterns in your business and go, that's probably not going to work, you need to do this. Because what happens is we're so fixated on the pattern, we think we want to get there, we got to be open to change that routine. That's why I always tell people that you want to get yourself around mentors or people that can help you look at your pattern. If it ain't working, what can you do to make it some adjustments? And a lot of it is shifting because you're looking for the right client with the right product and service that will buy it without you always having to do it yourself. It has a life of its own. So and to scale it, you're always going to be pivoting, the operations, the product and service. You'll be pivoting how you bring in business. You got to be used to changing patterns. Because what happens is if you're not, you have that fixed mindset, you will die by the business. You will never get it to grow because you're like, I don't want to change because this is my baby. But if you really want to grow the business, I'm going to change my baby. I may not change the vision, the personal why, but I'm going to change the product. I might change the service. I may change how I'm targeting. I may change how we hire people. You know, sounds like a mess, but there's enough resources in Hampton Roads you can plug into people that say, hey, this is what you need to do with that. But you have to change your routine. Because when people double, a lot of times whatever their pattern is now ain't working. So we have to figure out what's the pattern they have to do to change it. And a lot of times when we get to help them figure out, they'll change it really quick. And sometimes you're so much in the thick of things you can't think straight. You don't have a 30,000 view looking down. You're just in the midst of the water in front of you all the time, hitting your face. So sometimes I got to pull you up and say, hold on, no, it's okay to get out of the water. We got to get to the next level. And then hidden secret number 7, you got to invest in your business and invest in yourself. So a lot of the clients I have, they read a lot of books, business books. They take seminars, workshops, and they look at two things. They look at one thing, how to invest in their personal development, but then also how to invest in the business development. How to grow the business. So like Hatch is really great on how to grow it. Now you have to invest in you, because the more you can learn and plug in what we call, like in the Lean Startup, called validated learning, where you're required to report back what you have done, and what was worked has greater impact than just getting the information. Because what happens is you got to test the theory if it's working or not. If you just get the information and you don't apply it, then it's not validated. So a lot of the clients we work, when we get them a double, they have to, okay, here's the idea, here's the tactic, go out and do it, give us a report. It worked, great, let's keep doing it. If it doesn't work, where did it break down? Let's add another one, let's change this one. Because eventually what will happen is you'll figure out the right mix of operations, the right mix of business development, the right mix of product and service, then it just all clicks. You go, oh man, this is great. But the frustrating part of that whole thing is you got to be able to go through that process. And so a lot of businesses don't want to change. So that's why when we say, that's our whole premise, if you double your income over a 90-day period, you're going to change all those things. And then if you can sustain it after 90 days, you got some type of business model that's working. And it may not be perfect where you're right now specific process and systems, but it's making money, you're hiring people, and then along the way you write down what's working, what's not working. But that's why we always say if you can double your income in 90 days and then sustain it, then most time what happens is that business has a pretty good survival rate of growing and growing again. Because for the last many years, we've seen people when they have actually doubled. That's the milestone. They double, they get to that level, and then everything changes. So let's just go around the room and tell me what your insight today and what will be different and what you learned today. So we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I've learned that I do have to change my ways in business, because I was one of those people that said, oh, this is my baby. When I first went into business, my first time in business, I got to the point I was tired of working for people, went back to TCC, graduated, and I said, well, I'm going to just do this. And I'm just one of the guys that jumped out, that just jumped out and did it. Mm-hmm. And I realized going along the way that if you don't have no money behind it and you don't invest the time in it, like the number one thing, if you invest time in it, it'll take a little bit of money. It just takes a little bit of money to make your business successful. Yep. If you work the business. But like I said, for the longest time, I was still thinking, oh, I got to go work for somebody else. I got to get a paycheck. You got things going on at home. You know what I mean? And you just out here just really making the business. And God's been good to me. I've maintained for 7 months.
That's good.
Right now, and I'm going into, I'm getting ready to go into another frame of mind. You know, not just from what you said today, just being around, man, because I've been around. I asked for the checks, and they were like, nah, you know what I mean? It's how I ask sometimes. I've never been the type of guy to have the paperwork and all of that and go to them and have a full business plan and set it down. You know what I mean? I can dress up and talk to people, but really and truly I am just what I am. I'm the guy that goes out. People tell me, why aren't you on Facebook? Why aren't you? I'm like, man, I'm face to face. There's no need to Facebook you, but then if you ask somebody, some different people have different things. You might ask somebody, well, is Facebook working good for you? If it's working good for them, then you say, well, look, let me hold $1,000. And they say, okay, here you go. When I'm going to get my money back? Then I'll be a believer in Facebook. but a lot of people you talk to, they tell you, well, I mean, I don't really have no money, but it's still a way to get money. So I understand it's a tool.
Yeah, it's a tool. It's a
Yeah,
tool.
but like I say, man, I guess I'm one of the big risk takers, and until
Yeah,
it's my
you're
time to
one of those
stop,
guys that are promotion focused. You take the big risks and go for
I
it.
take the big
You do the
risk,
big steps,
man.
yeah.
And I lose it all.
I know.
I look on my second marriage, I lose it all, man. You know what I mean?
All right.
Like, real time.
All right, Dina, what do you think? You got it all right. Lose it all. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's hard to follow out that one. Lose it all. I was like,
right?
woo.
I'm sorry.
So I guess my takeaway is that I need to figure out, like, I don't know those numbers that you talked about in the beginning, so I don't even know what I need to ramp up to in order to double. So I don't know if, you know, how many people I'm talking to now and how to measure that, so I need to do some work to kind of figure that out, so.
Because once you know the numbers, then you can figure out the strategies and you can double.
Yeah, I think I'm having trouble figuring out, since I'm not just typical sales and I'm saying, here's how much my widget costs and here's how many people I talk to, is trying to figure out that whole, you know, because I'm at networking events, I'm at, you know.
Well, yeah. How you figure it out is you got to figure out what's your most profitable product or service you sell. You know, so like, because you do a lot of different things. So if you got to look at what is the core thing I sell, and then I may sell all the other things around it, but there's a core product and a core fee they pay. Because without that, then what happens, you kind of feel like you're out there meeting, you're getting here to there, but it's not as focused, and you just kind of run around. And so a lot of it is just identifying what are you really selling, you know, and then you can really, because I have some companies, they sell one thing, but once they get the client, they sell them everything. So and it's looking at probably, you know, what's your most profitable client, and then what your average sale is, and once you have at least a forecasted, predicted, you know, idea, then you track it for 90 days. You can actually figure out what it is. All right, the interns. What do you want to say? Anything?
Yeah, I think it's interesting to step back and look at things from a different perspective, because you get too involved in what you're doing and don't think about how to fix it.
Yeah, kind of was going to say what I learned from this game is like you shouldn't just rush into things, kind of like step back and see if there's a more efficient way to do stuff.
Well, I know what my number is. You know, I know how much profit I need to make and how many people I need to sell to get to that number that I have in my head. But it's just the fact that I've been so focused on, like you were saying, one part of that, the design part. You know, so
Yeah.
I'm an engineer. And that's what I'm good at. I design the product. You know, I know how to make it work. But being able to network, one of my weaknesses, and you know.
So what's your product?
I do. It's a portable workstation. It's a backpack that converts into a stand-up desk.
Okay.
So it's just.
Who are you trying to sell to?
Well, our demographic is just like a younger millennial, somebody who's in college, or like a teller worker, somebody who's commuting day to day, who's in the airport often, and who's not in a typical office environment.
Yeah, you know what you can do. You should do I call it target map. So you take your product, right? You write down everybody you think you can sell, and then you look at all the associations, all, you know, the demographics and all the people. Then look at here locally, and then you just kind of you just say, okay, let me go talk to this person, talk to this person.
Yeah.
Because if you're an engineer, you're really good at designing. Now you can do the same type of process. Like here's my product, here's the certain target markets I think will buy, and let me just develop I call it a persona, or an ideal client profile, income, what ideas they have, and the amazing thing about here with the Millenniums, there are a lot of associations they're heavily involved in. You just have to once you kind of drill down, you can probably figure it out. Because the thing about engineers, once you give them the process, they do really good in business development. They just need to know the process.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, get out there and talk to people is one of my weaknesses.
But if you're talking to the right people, you won't have a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I usually tell the clients is take your target market and think about 4 or 5 of them, and look at locally who, like, there's associations, there's demographics, married, unmarried, and Hampton have a bunch of associations, and Millenniums are all over the place, and I see them a lot in business now. So you could probably, if you do like a target market map and just kind of map out who might be, you'll probably find the people here. Because when we sit down, we have to mark out, we have to figure out what the product to sell, and then what different targets, and we have to figure out, okay, where do we go here locally to meet the people? And once you know the target markets, then you can always find the people. You can always find the associations. You can find the people to talk to, and then it makes it easier for like people in Hatch to say, hey, I know this person. Can you introduce me there? And so if you have somebody who's really good in marketing, they can tell you, well, help me develop my target market and my ideal client profile. And usually they have a process to follow, and they'll help you kind of put that together. And then you can take that information and go, okay, where locally can I go and talk to the person? You'll find them. They're here.
Yeah.
Without that, you're just like playing. It's like getting in the dark with very little tiny flashlight. which sucks when you have a great product. You just got all the right people to talk to.
Yeah, I mean, we've gotten great response. Just everybody, thinks it's a really good idea, but just being able to get in front of people and kind of, finding that market.
Yeah, you just have to find out. You have to find the right target market. So probably a bunch of people here locally. All right, Bill.
I think the thing that you said today was the most valuable for me was number 7, and that is, invest in yourself. I mean, over my business career, I built up a pretty extensive library of books, Dale Carnegie and Zig Ziglar and on, and I always use that as inspiration to help me. It's much cheaper in your education to learn from somebody else's mistake than to make those mistakes yourself.
I agree. Because the hardest thing I own in business, if you don't educate yourself on your personal development or educating about your business, then you'll hit I call a capacity to grow. Because a lot of times the money's there, it's just figuring out what's the next step to get there. So the thing great about Hatch, they have all these talks you can watch at. So once you know your struggle in growing the business, now you just have to find the right resource to help you kind of work through it. And then once you work through it, then you get to the next level. I mean, but I do agree with Bill. You have to, a lot of the clients who do really well, they're always constantly taking seminars, workshops. They're always looking at things to do to help them grow their business. They're investing in that because they're only as good as when they stop. They're only as good as long as they keep learning. Once they stop learning, then the business stops. Because because unless you have the business grow without you, where you have other people running it, you're the driver of it.
I've also read a lot of biographies as well, and I think when you read those, you learn a lot. Everything from Ben Franklin to Richard Branson.
Yeah, when you read biography, you learn a lot about the person's character,
Well,
their tenacity, and what they actually do. Yeah. But that's it, guys. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
thank you, Arnell.